Can somebody have the... It helps me.
I won't cut you off.
Okay, so I'm Agnes Refutation, and the claim that I'm going to be refuting tonight is that the benefits of genetically modifying crops outweigh the risks. My opponent's secondary claims were genetically modified crops are easier to grow, they're beneficial to humans, and growing them helps with the treatment of the environment. So my opponent claims that pest resistance and herbicide tolerance of the genetically modified crops lowers the cost of growing crops. However, according to naturenews.com, the genetic modified crops that are less resistant to pests and easily caught diseases, which made the crops even more costly to grow and thus higher the price for consumers. These genetically modified crops have cost the United States an estimated $12 billion in farm subsidies, lost sales, and product recalls due to transgenic contamination. Genetically modified crop foods increase herbicide use. The Institute of Responsible Technology found that between 1996 and 2008, farmers used 383 million pounds more of herbicide. The overuse of herbicide has been found to cause a superweed that is resistant to the herbicide. This results in farmers using more herbicide every year. Roundup herbicide, which is a leading brand used, has been linked to sterility, hormone disruption, birth defects, and cancer. Genetically modified foods produce a pesticide in the form of Bacillus thuringiensis, or BT, which are made to be resistant to herbicides, but insects are becoming more resistant to BT over time, according to Beyond Pesticides. My opponent's second claim was that they are beneficial to humans. According to the American Academy of Environmental Medicine, their animal studies show how genetically modified foods have caused organ damage, gestational and immune system disorders, accelerated aging, and infertility. The Academy also found that the genes put into genetically modified soy transfer into the DNA of bacteria inside our bodies, and it was also found that the toxic insecticide produced by genetically modified foods was found in the blood of pregnant women and their own unborn fetuses. Statistical data has been shown that health problems have increased since the introduction of genetically modified foods in 1996. The American Academy of Environmental Medicine says the percentage of Americans with 3 or more chronic illnesses jumped from 7% to 13% in just 9 years, resulting in disorders such as autism, reproductive disorders, and digestive problems. If these issues are found to be arising in the United States, why would we disadvantage third world countries with these crops, like the affirmative suggested, and put others at risk? These crops may be easy to grow and be able to survive to grow in any condition, but they may cause damage to humans in the long run. Due to transgenic contamination, in which pollen from modified plants can spread and infect other plants, creating superweeds with insecticidal properties or herbicide resistance. As these pollens spread, they are able to find their way into the food supply, which are fed to the animals that are slaughtered and meant for human consumption, which may cause allergies, according to naturenews.com. The affirmative claims that this problem can be eliminated just by labeling genetic food modified foods. However, it is not that simple. If there's a mix in the pollen spread, and producers may not be able to label meats or poultry, with the effect they will have on human beings. My opponent's third claim was that growing genetic modified crops helps with the treatment of the environment. In response to my opponent's claim of the genetic modified plants will clean up the environment, These genetically modified foods pollute water resources due to the Roundup herbicide, which has been found to cause birth defects in amphibians, embryonic deaths, and endocrine disruptions, and organ damage in animals at very low doses, according to the Institute for Responsible Technology. There's the issue of cross-contamination of genes and pollen spreading between genetically modified crops and genetically modified, let me go back. There's the issue of cross-contamination of genes and pollen spreading between non-genetically modified crops, which could alter entire ecosystems if these cross plants were able to flourish. My opponent suggests that we should create buffer zones of non-genetically modified crops. However, the spreading is still possible through wind and other help of other animals that can trespass through these buffer zones. My opponent claims that genetically modified crops have little evidence of having to pose a threat to wildlife, but this is due to the suppression and attack of some independent research or problems discovered with genetically modified crops. According to the Institute of Responsible Technology, scientists have been attacked, gagged, fired, threatened, and denied funding to continue pursuing these studies, and attempts by media outlets to expose these problems have been blocked too.
Thank you. We're going to make it quick because I know everybody's anxious to get going. You follow the structure very clearly, so that's not a problem. All of your arguments are counterclaims, so there's not really any analysis of the advocate's evidence or reasoning, except on the last point when you're talking about the problem with barriers, where you've got a direct attack on whether or not such barriers would work. You're dependent on a couple of sources that I think you need to qualify a little bit more. Sometimes there's some big inferences that you're making on causality that I think would not stand up to much scrutiny, and you're going to need better evidence on those. And you can be a little bit more forceful with your vocal presentation. All right. Thank you.